Hi, I'm Colin Fisher from Trendy Entertainment.
And I'm Josh Isom.
And you're listening to the Party Chat Podcast.
Nailed it.
Xbox on.
Game on, baby. Wow!
Don't make a girl a promise you can't keep.
Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to the Xbox One Party Chat Podcast. It's the official podcast of the Xbox One subreddit. I'm this week's host, Delicious Cheese, aka Rhys. Hi everybody, and I'm joined by Mikey. What's up, Mikey?
He's back.
Mikey is back. It's been like, what, 6 months?
Oh, it's a long time.
Oh, Mikey's back in the house. Tonight it is the Rhys and Mikey show because Ross and Clay and Karina, all three, have like lives or something. Can you believe that crap, Mikey?
No, I'm a little upset because they forced me out of retirement.
Yeah,
And here I am.
Ugh, it's awful. But seeing as it's, when the adults are out, the boys can play. So
Exactly.
it's going to be a good one. We have an awesome interview lined up later on this episode with Trendy Entertainment, the developers of Dungeon Defenders 2. So make sure everybody sticks around for that. Or you could, skip ahead to that, but please don't do that.
Or do that, depending on how this goes.
Yeah, well, yeah, that remains to be seen. But Mikey, like I said, welcome back. I hear you just came back from some place that wasn't really that interesting.
No, I was out in L.A. at E3.
Oh,
It was okay.
That sounds pretty boring.
was
Really.
Awesome.
I know, Mikey. Tell us all about E3. So, for those who don't know, Mikey and also Richard, who is Classy Turkey, went to E3 this year together. Not together, but they were there together. So, Mikey, tell us all about E3 from the ground floor. What happened? How was it? How did it smell?
Like you expect a bunch of guys running around being, playing video games to smell, but well, should I start from? I went to FanFest as well as at the conference. I did it all. I got the whole experience.
So just walk us through the whole thing.
Well, Sunday arrives, and we got to do the conference, and they lined us all up. I actually touched Phil Spencer's hand.
You did what?
Well, okay, so I got to tell you. I got to tell you an awkward story. So I went to give him a high five because he's sitting there shaking everyone's hand as he's coming by. So I'm like, shout out to him. I'll just give you a high five, man. And then he like awkwardly grabbed it.
What?
So
what?
He awkwardly like grabbed my hand to like handshake while I was trying to give him a high five.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh
it's
no!
It's probably the low point of the whole E3 experience.
Oh no! I can feel the cringe.
And then later on, I got to meet him at FanFest, and he signed my hat. Except when he went to sign the 3, he like hit a line in my hat, and it turned out to P7 instead of P3.
Oh.
And I kind of just had to give him a wink and go, "Oh no." He felt super bad about it though.
Oh dear, P7.
So it's gonna be my nickname for him for a little while. Is P7? No one will know what I'm talking about. But
you heard it here first on the Party Chat podcast. P7. We get all the best exclusives.
But other than that, it was I got to be on the ground floor for the conference. I got to see all 43 games talked about, and it was
Mikey, where were you sitting?
Super cool.
Because we were live podcasting, like live casting the actual thing, and the whole time, whenever it showed the crowd, we were looking for you. Didn't see you,
probably
though.
about 8 or 9 rows back, I think. We were behind the white section. There was one group that randomly got picked for the white chairs. We were just behind them by about 4 rows.
So you weren't in that little group of people at the very front?
No, unfortunately. I wanted to be,
we thought you were in there. That would have... Damn. Well, yeah, no wonder we didn't see you then. Still, anyway, so how was that?
Amazing. Because I've been there before. I was there for 2014. I was out in the crowd the year that they announced Master Chief Collection. And the energy with the FanFest crowd is a different level. I haven't experienced... Like, it's usually... the excitement you get personally when you're watching E3 and you see a game come out? imagine hundreds of people all doing that simultaneously. It's an experience that I hope that I can go back to and see next year if I can get a Fan Fest ticket randomly on Twitter. I'm going to try, but it was so good. Like, it was a dream come true for me.
That's amazing, really. I mean, it must be, like going to your favorite concert or something, but, for video games.
It pretty much, like, I can't even give you an experience that's similar, because I just thought it was the greatest thing of all time.
So what was your pick? What was the coolest thing to see on that huge-ass 4K screen that had set up in there?
Actually, the coolest thing was when they brought out the car.
The Porsche?
The Porsche. And everyone, you kind of feel the energy. Like, everyone's like, oh, an actual car? Dang it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is really cool, guys. We get to see something that nobody else has seen.
Yeah, and I mean, I've explained to people before that the Porsche is marketing genius, because people who like Forza love cars. And they got to see the new Porsche for the first time ever at E3, and they're going to get to drive the new Porsche virtually before anyone can drive it for real. It's nuts. If you love cars, that was like ecstasy.
For games, there's probably two things. One, I thought the Sea of Thieves part was done very well.
It's really funny, wasn't
it? It could have, they could have crossed into cringe territory, but they didn't. It was actually really funny. It wasn't terrible. And then the other thing was Anthem. I didn't expect that at all. I had heard about it, but them coming out of the base and going down through the tunnel, everyone in the crowd, you could feel everyone kind of just stop breathing.
At first I was like, meh, like this looks meh. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's an Iron Man suit simulator. Yeah, whatever. And then when they took off and just started flying through the tunnel, like you said, that was when I was on board. I was like, choo-choo, let's go.
And I hope it's not one of those moments where you see everything out there. You can't actually go there. You have to go down through the tunnel. I hope you can actually go out to those places, and I think you can. But we're going to have to wait and see.
I think that it's going to be the next big thing. If EA does this right, I think it's going to be the next thing.
Or the next division.
Yeah, I hope it's not the next Division. I'm hoping it's the next, Destiny, to overuse the cliche. Because, Destiny's the first shooting MMO sort of game that was really successful on consoles. No one's been able to emulate that. But then again, how do you steal Bungie power?
It's tough.
It's not easy. But yeah, so it's going to be awesome. So what else? Keep talking. Tell me all about E3.
Well, I guess I'll just go right to the show floor. So, so some people might know I'm kind of a Call of Duty guy. So the first game I went to was Call of Duty. I actually,
in the PlayStation zone?
No, it was actually so they had two stations set up for this, and I'll get to the Sony area. I don't like to talk bad about people, but Sony actually kind of did something that I didn't really appreciate.
Oh.
But there was a separate Activision area set up for Destiny and Call of Duty. It was like kind of mashed together. Destiny on the left, Call of Duty on the right. So outside of industry people or workers in the game, I was like, I think it was the 8th person in the world to actually get to play.
Wow.
And I like to brag because I'm like, I'm the first person to drop over 40 kills in a game and still lose. Oh man, it was just as a regular game of Call of Duty goes on Xbox Live. And then later on, I got to play with Richard and all of them in the group that we were with, and I think it was 30 kills in team deathmatch, and we still lost. But
sorry,
outside
Mikey.
of that, the two best.
It's because I wasn't there to help you carry. That's the exact reason.
Right.
You're laughing, I know, but that hurts. That hurts inside.
Well, because I know the people listening might not know, but I know your skill level in first-person shooters.
I'm
sorry.
It's not that bad.
It's not that good either.
No, it's
I will say, out of all the podcasters, I will say Jesse is actually...
Really?
He is. Me and him played Rainbow Six a while back, and he was actually carrying me, which is a surprise.
Okay.
Don't tell him
good.
that.
I mean,
hopefully he doesn't listen like he always
let's-
does, but
let's
just one
hope
time.
No, he's listening. Hi, Clay. How you doing? Yeah. But that's all he plays. He should be good. That's like
should be.
like implying that Ross is probably okay at Rocket League.
That's true. I think I kind of kept my own with Ross, if I remember right back in the day. Not to brag, but I'm pretty good at Rocket League too. No, he scored way more than I did.
See you brushing the crumbs off your shoulder as you said that.
I was actually doing a little swipe on my chest, so you're not too far off from the truth. My two favorite games, I'm going to have to cut a little short because there's so much I could talk about.
Oh, of course.
And not to beat a dead... Sea of Thieves. I will admit, when I first saw Sea of Thieves, I wasn't too excited because it looked too cartoony for me. And complete 180. I went and played it, and I've never laughed so hard in my life the night I played it at FanFest, and I think I played it again on Thursday.
I told you.
It was so good. I can't, there's... Drinking in the game is fun.
Yeah, it's hilarious. You puke and you stumble
I was
around.
puking all over people's screens.
And
I was purposely aiming.
You know how if you play the instruments,
I do.
If you get drunk and you play the instrument, it sounds fine to you, but everyone else it sounds awful.
Oh, that's why. So my two only play sessions I've had, they designated me captain. I don't know what it is, but they made me drive the boat. And in one of them, I had a crew around me. They weren't actually doing any crew things, but they were playing while drinking. And I told them to stop because it sounded so bad. And that explains why.
Yeah. To them, it sounded perfecto,
But our playthrough, we killed the crew. Richard actually got on board of another cruise ship, sent them off to sea while they weren't on it, so they couldn't even bring the treasure back that they got.
Oh, you mean like just set their ship rolling out to sea?
Yeah, so what happened, and I'm going to originally blame Richard for this, we parked the boat and we couldn't aim the cannons at the ship. So we had to create a backup plan. He jumped off. Me and another guy went to the island to take on this crew that was there. He jumped on their ship, turned it around, and set it off to sail. So, of course, we murdered the crew. Took the treasure, set off to sail for the outpost, and then the devs cut our session off, so we didn't actually get to cash in our loot. But besides that, oh, man, it's my drinking game of E3, my co-op game of E3, and for drinking, that includes in-game and out-of-game.
Yeah, it's just so funny with a bunch of friends. Like, the reason I tell everybody to play it, like, give it a try. Honestly, you need to play it with people because you can look at it and be like, oh yeah, it looks okay, but you need to play. Like, it's one of those games that you need to pick up and try for yourself. It really will change your mind.
It was great. My second game.
Yeah.
And I also didn't expect this because at first it was the Darwin Project.
Oh. With
yeah.
that awful shoutcasting.
It was, and that's actually what turned me off originally. Is I didn't get into it initially, but I went and tried it FanFest, and I actually returned to play it another time at FanFest, and again 2 more times while at E3.
Okay, so can you tell me what kind of game it is? Because I had no idea. It's like a third-person MOBA, or what? Is it like Smite?
Think more like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds.
Oh.
It's scaled down tremendously. It's not 100 players or anything. It's 7 players as of right now. The devs are kind of tweaking it back and forth, but it's a more refined experience in my opinion than PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. One of the key things that I had for the game is first of all, you start off with a hatchet and you start off with a bow. Those are your 2 weapons. I believe you can change your hatchet to whatever other weapon you want for a melee weapon, but it's just cosmetic. And you can level all these things up. The refined mechanic for me, in PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, you get into fights with players, and then there's that long points in between the fight where it's like you're just kind of searching for loot. Nothing really exciting's happening. The Darwin Project, there's actually more things than just grabbing loot. They mask it better. So I go out and I find trees, I find leather, I search for electronics, and then I have to choose what I want to use my loot for in order to level up my guy. There's a mechanic, because you start on an ice arena, you have to level up your coat in order to maintain your heat level more efficiently. No matter what, you always have to build a fire at some point to heat your character up, otherwise your character will freeze and die. But it's one of the things that will slow down, and it becomes more useful the more you level it up. You can increase
Okay.
your speed, your hatchet strength, the number of arrows you're carrying. You have to use a piece of wood for every arrow you make, so you can run out of ammo pretty easily.
So it's like really hardcore then. It didn't look like it from the graphics.
It is. I don't know what's so magical about it, and it's kind of ridiculous because when you hit somebody, you don't just hit them. You can tell when you hit somebody because you'll knock them 20 feet back, either with an arrow or an axe. And then you have to
Okay.
rush and attack them again. So it's all out chaos, but it also feels competitive at the same time. It's not ridiculous to the point where I'm calling BS, I died, this is totally ridiculous, I shouldn't have, that type of game.
Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting to hear because that's the game that no one seems to be really talking about.
It's my sleeper pick for E3.
Okay, that's really interesting to hear. I have to say. Any other fun games or cool booths or anything else that you want to talk about before we move on to the interview?
There's one weird game I played.
What's that?
It's called Chicken.
Chicken.
CHCKN.
Chicken.
It's chicken without the vowels.
Okay. What platform was it on? Xbox or PC?
It was Steam early release, and
Okay.
it was like Minecraft meets Spore.
What?
Yeah.
How?
So
I don't understand.
You get all these building blocks, and it's a ridiculous amount of blocks they have in the game right now. They don't have it graphically optimized yet. It kind of looks. It doesn't look the greatest, but you build all these blocks together. You put them all together: arms, legs, neck, torso, heads, eyes, and then you basically hit give life, and your creature will actually start moving. And it has AI passed and stuff, and it'll go about and do its own business. And the developer liked what I created, and he comes to my side and he goes, "Go eat that thing over in the corner." And he had me pull out a whistle. I got to control my creature and tell it to go eat other people's terrible creations because there were some very uncreative, very very terrible decisions on people's part. But he had me go eat them, and it was kind of just stupid fun.
So it's like multiplayer then. You make your creatures and you eat each other, or?
As of right now, it was single player, and what he was doing is he was having people build a creation, then they'd move on, and so all these creations were kind of just building up in a single world.
Oh, I got you.
But it was just dumb fun, which it's not like I do not like dumb fun, so I had a fun time with it.
I'm gonna have to Google that after this. That sounds interesting. But is there anything else, or should we move on?
I go on and on, so we should probably move on.
Alrighty, well, in that case, I'll cut over to our interview with the guys from Trendy Entertainment.
Xbox Snap this week's interview.
Alright, everybody, welcome back to this week's interview. This week we are joined by Josh Isom and Colin Fisher from Trendy Entertainment, the developers of Dungeon Defenders 2. Hi guys, welcome to the pod.
Hey, nice. Thanks for having us.
Hey, good to meet you.
Brilliant, and Mikey's here as well. Hi, Mikey.
Hi.
So boys, once again, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the pod. How about we kick things off nice and easy? Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you guys are and what you do at Trendy Entertainment?
Sure. Well, I'm Colin Fisher, otherwise known as Alandrian on the inner tubes, and I'm an assistant producer here at Trendy Entertainment, and I handle generally marketing and general production of our game.
So I'm Josh Isom. I'm the community manager at Trendy Entertainment. So what I do is I handle the forums and social media and in-game events for Dungeon Defenders 2, and I handle all the feedback that comes in, and I sit in on some of the meetings and offer my input on what the community would like in the game.
Neat. So, speaking of Dungeon Defenders 2, you guys just released your newest game, Dungeon Defenders 2, on the Xbox One, and you released it totally free. Yeah, fancy that, you know. So for our listeners who might be unfamiliar with Dungeon Defenders, why don't you guys just tell us in your own words a little bit about the game itself?
Yeah, so Dungeon Defenders 2 is what we call an action tower defense game. So it's kind of like a chocolate and peanut butter situation where you've got traditional tower defense building mixed in together with kind of like Diablo-esque loot and RPG and leveling and pets. So it's tower defense and RPG, but you also, once you build your defenses, you can get right in there in the action and start murdering everything and causing general mayhem.
Murder is good.
Yeah. Murder is good? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, might have to edit that out of the podcast.
Oh,
Got a little
keep it
violent. Guys, we're rated E. Come on now. That escalated quickly.
It did, yeah.
So the Xbox One version is possibly one of the best kept secrets in gaming. Nobody really saw it coming. Just how did you manage to keep a lid on it, like from other people finding out? Do you guys like still all have your limbs, your toes? No, nothing cut off.
Are you here against your will? Blink twice.
Can you see me blinking over the internet?
No.
Dang.
Well, we are both here against our will. No, how did we keep it secret? I don't even know. You don't really have a lot of control over that. We're super lucky. We didn't say anything. That's usually step one. We've been working on it for a while, though.
Another thing, too, is we had a very small team working on it. When I say small team, I'm talking like 1 to 2 people for a long time. So it was kind of, we're already a small team here at Trendy, and we've had, everyone's has touched the build at some point to help out whenever it needs it. But in terms of like dedicated people working on the build itself, it's been a handful of developers at any given time. So it's just been, there haven't been a ton of people that have really been exposed to the progress that we were making, besides obviously like our production team and, our executives monitoring, progress. But other than that, like it's actually been it's just been happening kind of under the radar while we've been, working on maintaining the early access build on PC and PlayStation 4 while we were working on the Xbox version.
And I think the best thing is that, and also the worst thing, is that people have been asking us over and over, please make an Xbox One version. Why do you hate your Xbox fans? And the whole time I'm just sitting there like, I wish I could tell you. We're making it.
I might have been one of those people.
Yeah, me too. Suddenly this,
you're the one.
On in here, or?
No, it's so good to finally be able to tell people, like, yes, we're making it. We love you guys. Ever since the DD1 days,
And being able to tell them, hey, only in a couple weeks,
right?
It's going to be out.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not often that you get to say 3 weeks from now, you're getting an Xbox One version.
Yep.
You don't really hear that a lot.
Surprise!
Yeah.
So you guys, besides just Xbox, you've had Dungeon Defenders 2 in early access on Steam for over 2 years now. Overall, what does it finally feel like to be able to release the whole thing?
First of all, starting off for Josh and I doing marketing and community management, we're terrified and excited of our launch. So the feeling right now is mixed roller coaster of emotions. But honestly, just being able to kind of call it the release version and come out as a quote unquote full product, it feels really good. It feels really good to kind of achieve this point. And it's kind of weird though, because like we're, with free to play games, they'll kind of quote unquote launch, but then continue to kind of build and add and expand the game post launch.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what our idea too is, kind of after our, releasing as a full product, quote unquote. We still plan to really add and continue building out the game and, add content for players to experience for free.
Yeah, that was actually what I was going to ask you next is, like, how do you decide when a game is finally, done, finger quotes? Like, at what point do you just think, like, yes, this is it, we good? How does that come about?
So that answer kind of depends. For Dungeon Defenders 2, because we're an early access game, what we mean when we say launched or released is that these are the systems that we're going to have in the game. We've polished them up, we've made them better based on community feedback, and from here we're only going to grow and improve. If you haven't been following along with our early access progress, for the past 2.5 years, we've been making major system revamps based on the feedback that we've been getting from our community. Systems that might have been there in December, 2014. It's been so long. Might not be there now. So that's what launch means.
Nice.
These are the systems.
Another thing we have is we actively monitor the rage levels of our forums And then when levels have subsided to the lower points that we can get them to, then we're like, you know what? It's probably time. It's probably time now.
You got a little DEF CON meter in the office?
Yeah, DEF CON. We're at a low DEF CON level. Everything looks fine. You know what? Maybe we release now.
No, out the door. Go, quick.
Launch.
I've been doing my best to avoid your early access progress because it's hurting my heart, not being out on the Xbox. But now it's come out finally, I can go back and follow the journey, which is kind of cool, actually, retrospectively.
Yeah, and it's all documented. We've made 70 plus dev streams, 90 plus developer logs. You know, we were having news there every week.
So you're saying I should book like a weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. You should go and just like get you a glass of wine or whatever you prefer. If this is family friendly, some water.
Yeah. Root beer. Ooh, root beer. There you go.
We don't have root beer in Finland.
So what do you do for like root beer floats?
What's that?
Oh no!
Oh wow!
No rope. I don't know if we can keep doing this podcast.
Oh no! Are we done? Oh.
I'm so offended.
Oh.
I'm standing up and walking to the door now.
I've never been so triggered in my life.
I can make it up to you. I can bring root beer floats to Finland. You guys could be a part of that.
I mean, I'm down.
Yeah.
Ship you.
Stream it.
Yes.
A new export for us.
We've got the guys. We've got the guys from Mixer coming up in 2 weeks. I think we can arrange something.
There you go. Yeah.
So, what were some of the things you guys learned during your early access journey, and what were some of the biggest differences between the release version and the original?
This is a great question. So this is the first time we've ever made a game in early access. Something that was really interesting is that in design, there's a philosophy called fail fast, which essentially means you move through a bunch of different systems until you get it right, and you go through a cycle of creation, feedback, iteration, and you keep cycling through that. In almost all game development, you do that behind the scenes. It happens in almost every game. Our early access philosophy was that we wanted the community to be involved in that process. So there were a lot of times where we would put out like the first or second version of a feature and then get them involved in the feedback and the iteration. And it was really interesting to see how people would react to that system. It's easy to think that a developer is like losing the vision or don't have a roadmap because you're doing that process very visibly. So that was really interesting to see how a community would react to actually being involved in a game development process that maybe they hadn't experienced, not in just any other game, but in other early access games. Because most of the other developers that we've talked to still tend to iterate behind the scenes before putting out a system publicly. So that was one of the really interesting things, was learning how people would react to that process. You also asked about the biggest differences between the release version and the original, and that would be a whole podcast in and of itself.
I'm pretty sure we can just say everything.
Everything.
Yes. Actually, I think that would be true. Everything. It's been, almost every system has been tweaked at the very least. You could probably go online and see a lot of videos from our first early access. You know, we had people in the community making videos, but if you were to look at it, it would look like a totally different game.
Are those early videos terrifying?
I don't want to watch them.
Like you look back at like the photos
I
of
don't want to
yourself when
delete
you're a
them from the
teenager.
internet. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. It's like
Full
the
of
live
cringe.
journal that you have.
No.
Look back and you're like, oh no.
I look back on those with just wonder and amazement that I was ever at that point in my life.
There's a subreddit
They're
for
so
this, guys.
2D5 me. They're like, oh my god.
What's the subreddit?
There's a subreddit for this. /r/the blunder years.
Oh,
Perfect.
No.
The blunder years.
That
It's
sounds
amazing.
I
Go
must
there,
never
sort
go.
by top. It's you're like, oh, the 90s. Hello. I remember.
It makes you feel
right?
better about yourself.
To be honest.
Yeah. But back on topic.
Right, we have a game.
Yeah, your first game, in fact, Dungeon Defenders. It's like a real classic of the Xbox 360, Xbox Live Arcade era. Can you guys tell us, how much you've expanded upon the original? Does it differ in any significant way, or is it more of the stuff that everyone liked?
Well, the first obvious difference is that we're free to play.
Yeah, well.
So besides that, the core content in the game can actually be experienced for free. We kept a lot of the same characters and a lot of defenses that people enjoyed from the first game. A lot of similar systems. It's still defending against waves of enemies, building. We have a build phase and a combat phase. We still have loot that you put together, and it gives you stats on your heroes and stats on your towers. We just took a lot of the systems and gameplay loops from the first game and iterated on them and added them to the second game. Josh has been around longer than I have, so I'm sure he can have some more interesting call outs. I was just a player of the first game before coming to work on Dungeon Defenders 2, but it's definitely, there's a lot of similar gameplay loops and concepts that kind of transfer over from 1, but 2 is a very different game.
We really wanted to expand on what we felt was the weakest part of DD1, which was the action, the actually getting in there and fighting enemies. So we spent quite a bit of time in the beginning of DD2's development really fleshing that out and making that feel better, while still retaining the amazing, tower defense gameplay from the first game and all of those systems that Colin just spoke to. But yeah, that was kind of like our overall focus for DD2.
Well, that's nice. My girlfriend's going to thank you because her and I played the first game for hundreds of hours, and she played the knight, the melee character, and basically that was her only complaint, that melee combat was meh.
I think this game is the only thing that kept me and my ex together at the time.
Really?
Yeah, after we stopped playing, we no longer had anything in common.
Hey. Savage.
Well,
Wow.
you touched on it. One of the big differences is that it's free now, which thank you, by the way, because
yeah, thanks for that.
that's easier on my wallet. What made you guys decide to make it free?
What made us decide to make it free to play was that it's a cooperative game, and there's a barrier to entry that we were noticing in DD1. We had a lot of people say, I want my friends to play, but they're not going to spend money on it. We actually started reducing the price of DD1. You could find it for $1.50, $2. Gave it out for free on Xbox and other systems that I don't know if I can say on an Xbox One podcast. No, we made the barrier to entry.
We do not mention by name.
Oh yeah.
No, we all own basically every single system. I've got a Switch sitting next to me. I'm talking to you on a PC. We're the old man podcast, right, Mikey?
Yeah, all 4 of them are within an arm's reach of me actually right now, including PC.
Because we're making a virtual port.
Oh, good. That's good to know. I mod the Nintendo subreddit, and those guys will be overjoyed to hear that.
Well, I'm making a ColecoVision port, so it's gonna be great. Really quality.
What about Atari?
Yeah, Atari was too expensive.
Isn't Atari making a new console?
They are.
Yeah, Atari's making a new console. Back to your game. We're on tangents tonight. It's great.
Okay.
When it comes to tower defense games, I personally find that they are at their most fun when everything is just on the very razor's edge of going horribly, horribly wrong. That sort of no, yes moment that you get in only tower defense. So how do you guys go about finding the balance between difficulty and frustration?
It's really interesting that you mentioned that, because that is one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we get. And it's incredibly tough to find that perfect balance. Early in our game's development, you would have that moment in almost every match. And it was the most stressful game that you could possibly play. You just step away from it shaking and
I love it.
A smoke break, have a smoke and a scotch. It's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
You have to iterate a lot with your community, is what we've seen. Trying to find the balance of that only happening once in a blue moon.
Yeah, I mean, because if it's too easy, then you just sit behind your towers yep. So who wants a sandwich? And if you just get stomped, everyone's like, well, that was no fun. So it has to sort of
Delete
be like
game.
a middle. Yeah, delete this.
We also found that with being a free-to-play game, obviously free-to-play games try to get really everyone that they can into the game, and while before we might have had a more core audience that was really intense about DD1, we found that we have kind of different types of gamers playing DD2, and they really kind of want different things about their moment-to-moment gameplay. And we definitely saw that. We recently, semi-recently, released a new enemy called the Siege Tank this past December, and it's a big, it's a tank that moves slowly down the lane, and its weak point is in the back, and it just absorbs like 90% of incoming tower damage. And we had a huge part of our community just had a huge negative reaction to the siege tank. So they're like, my towers can't kill it. I don't want to have to actively go out as my hero and go, kill it myself. Like, I want to be able to kind of stay back and let it die. But then we had, some other voices going like, hey, the siege tank, it really adds something to the gameplay, right? Like, you can't just AFK farm. You have to go out and kill it, or else it's going to crush your defenses. Like, you have to do something about it. So we really had a lot of kind of, even internally, we had kind of a lot of mixed feelings about it. I mean, personally, I loved when we added it because I did feel like, it was a great addition to our game. But again, I was one of those players that would actively go out in a lane. I didn't want to sit in AFK. I wanted to go out and have to kill things in order for my defenses to stay alive. But then we found a lot of people, a lot of people enjoy kind of like the AFK, the strategic commander aspect of playing a tower defense game.
I'm one of those
and they don't want to do that. Well, right. So we have
I love building
different players.
My army of towers and just sitting back like, kill.
Exactly.
How dare they make you play the game?
Yeah, how dare you?
So that was a huge, and still remains to be a huge challenge when we're adding content to our game.
And not only that, we've got scaling power. You've got loot, and it grows and grows. So it's also really difficult to try to find that balance for all players, because you can only have so much control over how powerful a player is going to be at a specific difficulty. So that's something that we've been going back and forth on throughout development as well. We feel like we're at a good point right now, and obviously we're going to listen to the feedback that we get once we launch. But I think another point of how do you go about finding the perfect balance, and it's something that we're going to be working on post-launch, is actually letting players control the difficulty for themselves. Like, what experience do you want when you come into, obviously, this unique genre blend of tower defense and RPG where there's scaling power? What level of failure, or what level of almost failure, do you find fun? And it's really trying to find that balance.
Another question for you. How replayable is the game? I know that's one of the big aspects of tower defense. It has to be replayable. And because we've heard you guys are putting lots of focus on the end game. And could you explain a little bit about the end game?
So the way the end game works right now is you enter into our various levels of chaos once you beat the campaign, and you go through a game mode we have called the trials, and then there's incursions as well that are going to be included in launch. So the trials it's kind of a playlist of maps at a given difficulty, and you play them, and it drops loot that scales to your currently best equipped hero, and you slowly kind of progress your gear. And then you really kind of determine when you can move up to the next difficulty. Like, maybe you get a little bit of loot from Chaos 1, and then you can go try Chaos 2. And if you can't beat it, then you go back to Chaos 1. You can keep grinding a little bit on gear. Or maybe you have some friends, right, and you guys are really good, and you can blast through Chaos 2 way earlier than you could solo. And so that's kind of how Trials is how we're intending it to play out, and kind of how we've seen that people have been using it right now. And then in between that, we kind of have these little extra rewards that we've added in the form of incursions. Incursions used to be their own separate game mode that players could play in the end game, but what we found is they're much shorter, kind of like scripted fun event levels, and we just found that people were farming and kind of exploiting the mechanics within them and the rewards within them, and then they would only end up playing them exclusively, which is never really what we wanted. We wanted people to, defend maps and have a continuing scaling challenge in the game, and not just kind of brainlessly farm forever. So we added them in a fun way where when you beat a level on Trials, like at Chaos 1, you unlock 1 or 2 incursions at that Chaos level, and then when you beat them, you unlock a special weapon that corresponds to the incursion that you just beat. So as you're playing and leveling up currently we have 7 levels of Chaos. As you're leveling up through the different levels of Chaos, you're unlocking new weapons and new passives on those weapons that then you can use in your defense. So it's cool, kind of unique bonuses that you unlock as you continue progressing. And then on top of that, eventually, we're planning on bringing back kind of our survival modes, and we called it Onslaught in DD2, which is kind of the super high scaling, game mode that end game players can really sink their teeth into. But that's something that we're working on for a post-launch update, and it isn't currently in the launch update, but we really want to release it soon afterwards and give kind of some serious meat for those end game players to be biting into.
That sounds amazing. I want to go and do all that right now. right this second.
Download.
I have to wait till tomorrow. But, well, actually, it's not going to be tomorrow. This pod's going out on Thursday, so it's going to be like 2 days ago. But anyway, so guys,
yes, 2 days in the past.
Yes.
Can't wait till 2 days ago.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can't wait till 2 days ago. It's going to be
Did
awesome.
you like our game?
It was okay. So guys, you're talking so much about strats and whatever else. So which character is your main? You got any pro tips?
I used to main the Squire. Now it's the Monk. Actually, no. Now it's the Initiate. It's the female version of the hunk of the hunk.
The Huntress / Monk, the new Hunk character.
So I main the Monk. Pro tips: overlap your auras, make kill zones. Don't be an idiot like I was for the first few hours and only putting one aura in an area, in which Colin gave me an earful for being so dumb.
You're not playing the game the way I want you to play it.
pretty much.
Classic tower defense.
Grumble. Yeah. My main, it's a hard one. I started out as Squire also just because I really liked playing I played a lot of the Countess in DD1, which was the gender swap version of the Squire, and she moved around the map a little bit quicker, so I always enjoyed her increased movement speed over the old DD1 Squires. So I started with just regular Squire in this game because that was my main in DD1. But honestly, I've kind of switched, I think, and it's got to be a mix between. I really enjoy the Initiate also. I was enjoying the Monk because we gave him like double jump and so he had a little more mobility, and we improved kind of how melee attacks work and melee combos, and we got rid of root motion in melee, so you can kind of freely strafe around and be attacking and beating up enemies and using abilities. And then the Initiate has some really cool, she can jump up in the air and then slam down with her chi stomp and knock up dudes. She's really awesome. But she's who I'm using right now primarily because I think she's cool. But before that, my main was probably the Abyss Lord. The Abyss Lord was my main. He's really cool. He's like a skeletal version of the newer rethought version of the old Summoner, and he summons kind of undead towers to do his bidding, and he has like skeletal archers and skeleton barricades and these Ramster towers that shoot out a cone of fire, and he has a really cool ability called Direct Command, and you can use that ability on a tower, and then it'll give it a huge buff temporarily. So when you use it on the archers, they'll fire out this rain of arrows and giant cones at a huge range, and it's very powerful if you have some gear. So I really enjoy that gameplay with that character. So he's probably my main. Pro tips. My pro tips would be watch our tutorial videos and play the tutorial, because we didn't used to surface kind of advanced concepts in our game at all within the game, but now we have a really good in-game resource of kind of presenting, like Josh said, making kill zones with aura, trying to get all your auras to overlap as much as you can and just have them all in like a condensed area. My super pro tip, that's a very basic one that a lot of players really miss out on and don't understand, is it's really basic. Build offensive towers behind barricades. We've actually found that a lot of new players will try to build towers in front of walls to get kind of the best coverage on their damage, right? And then they end up dying and losing the map because they're out of towers and they don't have more mana to build more. And it's just like, yeah, I wish I didn't have to put that in there, but I do. So that's like my ultimate pro tip is build towers behind walls. Makes sense.
Play the game correctly. So what I'm getting from this is, as an ex-Squire guy from the first game, skip Squire and just jump completely to something else.
Oh, no way. I love Squire. Don't do that. Squire's
Well, it
dope.
seems
He's
like you guys all,
he shoots laser
I
beams
used
out
to
of
do
his sword
Squire,
now.
but this guy's, moved on.
Well, it's just we had such a period of time where, like, a long period of time where it was just the starting 4 heroes before we actually started to add more heroes to the game. So for us, it's a little different because it's like, oh my God, we played so much of the starting 4 guys. Please give us a new character. While we've moved on from Squire, Squire's hugely powerful. He can shoot giant laser sword beams. He has this taunt
Just
aura
like in real
that
life.
also increases his movement speed and I think damage a little bit. And then he's got this seismic slam earthquake thing that stuns and does tons of damage. Like, he's an awesome character. So I definitely don't say skip him. And his defenses are great, right? He has walls, he has cannonball towers, he's got ballistas again, and he has some training dummies that are kind of like the slice and dice a little bit from DD1. Like, he's a really good character.
And he wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah, literally.
Literally.
I'm glad to hear you talk him up a little bit more again. I'm getting a little depressed. Is there any classic tower defense games you guys used to play that you maybe got inspiration from or something else? Just for joy?
Definitely. So I personally played a ton of Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne tower defense maps.
My boy.
Oh, yeah.
LTD being
You are
my
among
favorite.
friends.
Welcome.
So much. I played so many different TDs. And then also I played a lot of Squadron TD and StarCraft 2. And then obviously a bunch of us here have played, larger released tower defense games such as like Defense Grid and Kingdom Rush. Like, a ton of people in the studio have played a lot of Kingdom Rush and have played through those levels and Defense Grid. And then, a bunch of people have played Warcraft 3 tower defense games. I mean, those were kind of some of the be-all, end-all of tower defense, were some of those custom maps.
And for me, the tower defense games that I played the most before Dungeon Defenders, there was this free online game called Amp Buster. I don't know if anyone even knows that.
Amp Buster?
Amp Buster is amazing. There's actually a version of it that gives you unlimited money, and it just scales infinitely. And even at that point, it still gets absurdly difficult. It's amazing. Go check that out.
Oh, and balloons. How did I
Balloons,
forget
of course.
balloons? Like, come on, yeah.
Get out of here. Defense Grid, obviously. Story in a tower defense game was pretty sweet, and had a lot of cool modifiers for replayability. I played a little bit of Kingdom Rush. I don't think I actually finished Kingdom Rush. It's on my...
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you? How can you
those
work
devs
here?
don't listen?
I played Crystal Defenders. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's
Mhm.
the Final
That
Fantasy.
was the Final Fantasy, like, mobile one?
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
and
right.
it was
Oh,
on
I do know that one.
Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was on 360. That's right.
Yeah, that game was sweet.
Did you guys play
And,
the Toy Soldiers games? Because they're a bit like
Yeah.
Dungeon Defenders.
Oh,
with guns.
definitely.
Toy Soldiers was sweet. Did you play that new one that came out with?
I played the new one at He-Man.
Yeah.
I was all about He-Man and Rambo.
Oh, Rambo.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And of course, Orcs Must Die.
Yep.
Sanctum.
Mhm.
Sanctum, that's right. I played a ton of Sanctum.
Oh man.
Sanctum 1 and Sanctum 2. I've played, both Orcs Must Die games and the new one. Yeah.
We're really good friends with Robot, the people
Mhm.
who make Orcs Must Die, and Coffee Stain. I believe that's her name.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I always wanted to do a Sanctum and Orcs Must Die crossover.
Mhm.
That would be cool.
Still need to get that.
Tower
Exclusive
Defense
scoop.
Bros
Yeah.
crossover.
Super tower.
So guys, what's next for Dungeon Defenders then? Like, what after the release? What are you guys working on? Is it that update you mentioned before for the end game, or what?
Or Heart Boxer Brief DLC,
Mm.
like the old game.
That's
So
already
actually, that's already a thing.
Oh, it is.
So...
See? I was
Mi-
worried about this.
Mikey
Like, I
has
don't
been-
see the game. Maybe it is.
Mikey has been talking about this all day. I'm not joking here. We prepped like 8 hours ago, and he was like, "Have you written anything about hard boxes?" And I was like, "What? No." So it's a thing.
That is a thing. That is in our game currently, and you can equip those on the Squire. But what's next for kind of the future of our game? It's really, obviously, immediately after launch, we're going to be monitoring the servers and monitoring for bugs, making sure any, if there's any like big issues, that we respond to them very quickly. But kind of in the the short, medium, long term, our short term is that we're trying to work on kind of a better system for matchmaking, a better system for parties. We're also working on, again, like I was talking about, the new survival/onslaught type of mode. That's probably not what it will end up being called, but I just mean we had onslaught in the early access game before, and we took it out because it was super outdated and didn't fit with our progression anymore. So we're revamping it, and we might call it something new and kind of have a new idea for what that's supposed to be. So that's kind of what we're trying to work on very soon. And then kind of medium term, there's a lot more stuff we'd like to do with really all the systems in the game, really polishing them up, listening to feedback from the community, figuring out, how we can make loot progression feel better, how we can make kind of the longer term progression feel better. And then we have some ideas for our longer term. There's been a very desired character in the community for a long time, which is the Barbarian. It's not really like a secret that he's been a demanded hero, and he's been a personally demanded hero of mine since before I even came on the team. So I'm always forever going to push for the Barbarian to be released. But we've actually had kind of some cool ideas talking about what we could do to make the Barbarian's release even more appealing, which I'm not going to reveal, but it's been kind of a cool thing that we've been talking about planning, and some extra kind of fun content for players to do, and how we can theme our content in the future to be more interesting, especially as a post-release game, right? Kind of do content that people expect and want of a post-release title.
That sounds really cool. But guys, thanks for coming by today. We've basically exhausted our list of questions except for the very last one, and we've had a lot of fun. There's been plenty of jokes and laughs, and it's been all kind of casual and whatever else. But I'm afraid I really have to do this to you. I have to ask you like a serious, like a really hard hitting,
Oh God,
the cutting edge of journalism question. Like I'm sorry I lied to you when I brought you on, but I really have to ask you this. Okay, so you ready?
All right, I think we're prepared. I'm not sure though.
Here we go.
Breathe.
Okay, this is serious journalism, all right? Which classic video game character could you knock out in one single punch?
Okay. You really set that one up.
Yep. You like that?
Yeah, Colin, you go first.
So.
All right, so who I could knock out in a single punch?
Yeah. Who could you?
Because that what makes me immediately think of is Punch Out.
Right.
Like the original Punch Out. Yeah, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, because, I don't know, you literally said who could you knock out in a single punch. And I strongly believe that I could knock out Little Mac, the main character, in a single punch. Because he's like a puny dude, and he might seem really strong and awesome, but when he gets hit in that game, like, you're done.
But he can take out
die.
Mike Tyson.
He can take him out with punches, but he can't take a punch very well. Right? So, I believe that I could, if I actually got to hit him with a single punch.
Okay.
So
dumpster.
So we're assuming that you can actually hit him.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
One hit.
So you're saying he's a glass jaw.
Yes.
Okay. We'll lock that in for you. And the other one, I want two answers here. You don't get away with one.
This is such a dumb answer. I don't know. You say classic.
Go with your heart.
This dude is not classic.
Go with your heart.
I'm just thinking.
It doesn't have to be classic.
From the NES. There's that game Yo Noid.
Yo Noid? Oh no.
That was based on like the Domino's.
You could take
Noid.
the Domino's Noid?
Yeah, I could punch out the Noid in one hit. At the very least, I want to punch out the Noid in one hit.
I thought you were gonna say like Luigi or like Wario or something. I don't know.
I mean, I grew up with a very limited selection of video games here. Like scouring pawn shops. I thought Yo Noid was a beloved video game classic. Am I wrong?
Well, to some.
Do we not all remember playing that?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh my god, Yo Noid was good. Go check it out.
It's pretty good. There's a few YouTubers who have made interesting videos about his video games.
I always wanted Domino's afterward. I didn't know why until
it's
weird.
Yeah, Domino's. It's great. Please send us pizza.
Yeah,
please.
If
you could come to Finland, that would be great.
Yeah.
You guys can just FedEx it to me.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Root beer and
root beer and Domino's.
Yes, root beer. Of course.
We did it.
Sounds like
It's
an
happening.
American dinner to me.
But yeah,
I actually feel really bad if you were to get that crate because that sounds like an awful meal.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Domino's.
We'll call it the shame crate.
The crate of shame.
You will not feel good after eating this.
Can you send your tears back to us? We'll put a full file
Just in
on
a
the shelf.
jar.
Yeah.
I'll think about it. But
No bile though.
no, Mikey, just
Wait, hold on. We had to answer the question. Have you ever answered the question?
yes.
What characters would you knock out in a single punch?
I said Cubert.
Whoa, that's rude, dude. What
Wow.
Did he ever do? He just jumps on
He
boxes.
got a
man.
potty mouth.
Yeah, he would probably absorb your fist into his nose.
Yeah. As long as I don't like allow him to jump diagonally, I think I can take him.
And I think mine was it Carmine from Gears of War?
And, whoa, too soon.
That's why. It's like it only takes a single shot. Might as well only take a single punch.
Yeah.
You can't duck worth of crap, so.
Low hanging fruit,
Yo,
Mikey.
he was my best friend, okay?
Low hanging
All
fruit.
three of them?
All three of them.
Seriously, it's been a lot of fun. You've been really good sports. Thanks for putting up with our terrible jokes and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, good. That's why we're here, and I hope absolutely everybody enjoys Dungeon Defenders 2. What day is it out?
It is officially out tomorrow.
You mean
Tuesday,
Careful
June 20th.
on the wordage here.
2 days in the
That's
past,
true.
the
That's true.
20th of June.
The 20th of June.
Fantastic. And where can the subredditors find you other than on Reddit, of course?
You can find us on Twitter, twitter.com/trendyent, trendyent. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dungeon Defenders. We have a website, dungeondefenders.com, and that's where our forums are, and you can find us there all the time. Discord, we actually have an official DD2 Discord, which you can check us out there.
And at our subreddit.
Brilliant.
So we can find you everywhere.
Everywhere.
All the things.
Always there.
We're watching.
Creeping.
Fantastic.
Lurking.
Thanks a lot, guys, and see you later. Well, that was a great interview, don't you think, Mikey?
I thought it was.
Yeah, it was all right. It's okay. No, seriously, that was great.
We didn't laugh at all.
No. What a bunch of great guys. Seriously, I cannot wait to play this game 2 days ago. It's going to be awesome. I have put so many hours into the first one, like 200 or more. It's I can't wait. But Mikey, the interview went for quite a while, so I think we've only got time for one more topic, and I know it's a topic that's close to your heart, and that is that user Arctic Flamingo. Great name. He posted that the PC World magazine struggled to build a PC that is equal in performance to an Xbox One X. And if they included things like a UHD Blu-ray player, controller, and wireless network card, and a few other things that come, standard with the console, the price would rise up to over $1,000. And this caused a huge stir on our subreddit and on several other PC-focused subreddits and whatnot. And Mikey, you are a huge PC fan, so I want to know what your take on this whole situation is, and what do you think about the Scorpio, aka Xbox One X, and do you think it's good value for money?
First off, I think PC World completely right. You cannot build, as of right now, a PC with equal functionality to that of the Xbox One. You could argue that a PC in itself has more utility, but from a pure gaming perspective and what Xbox One has with, say, Blu-ray, the Xbox is a ridiculous value. The Xbox One X, to be specific, is a ridiculous value that cannot be matched on PC. And PC World actually missed a few things that nobody else really talked about.
Like what?
Well, I saw one person mention a keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
Some PC builders will go out there and they'll throw in like a $20 bundle, some cheap Logitech mouse and keyboard combo, which doesn't
those?
Exactly. And that's my point. When you game on a PC, you buy a nice mouse and a nice keyboard for the most part.
At my office, I have a $120 SteelSeries mechanical keyboard just because I like to type on it, and that's for work.
Mm-hmm.
Who buys a $20 keyboard and mouse for gaming?
Well, not to, get on anybody's company, but it would be like if Mad Catz came out, and that's the controller that came with the Xbox One. People would be a little upset.
Right? And the Xbox One X comes with a controller, which works on a PC. So, if you're going to have an equivalent build, it should include an Xbox One controller.
The second thing, with Blu-ray on PC, one of the things people don't talk about is there's a license associated with using a Blu-ray player on a PC. With Xbox One, you get the Blu-ray drive in there, and it comes with the license for the life of the device. Same goes with PlayStation. Same goes with your Blu-ray player. On PC, you have to buy the UHD Blu-ray, which is, I think, in itself like $130. But on top of that, you also have to download a program, and these programs, for the most part, aren't free. At least if you want to buy one or get one, that always works. There are free versions out there, but most of them have video or audio issues, and especially if you're going to be playing at 4K, you'll need to actually pay some money. And this actually comes to about $50 a year for most of these programs. They didn't include that cost either.
They don't include Windows in any of these builds either.
They included a cheap Windows key, which is true.
Oh,
but
they did?
The problem with that, though, is you're buying from key sellers. And sometimes I've come across cases where these keys were taken back because they weren't sold by an authorized retailer. And in many cases, these cheap keys are not being sold by that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all these added costs that people aren't throwing in, and you end up actually hitting like $1,100, $1,150 to match.
Like I said, like they're not including the wireless network card that the Xbox One X has, for example.
That too. I think they included that in their deluxe build, but it's just you have to pay over twice as much for a PC to match that than that of the Xbox One X.
And that doesn't include the vapor chamber cooling. That's not cheap.
All right, I don't even think they included that. I forgot about the vapor cooling. They did not include that in their build either. I had forgotten about that. That's a good point.
Wait, Mikey, did you see an Xbox One X on the stage floor?
I touched one.
You touched one. How big is it? Because it looks tiny, but I haven't seen one in person.
It is tiny. It's smaller than my ass. I know they said it's smaller.
Did you say it's smaller than your ass?
Exactly, yes. No, my ass.
Printed
my
straight to
Xbox One
Kotaku.
S.
It's official. The Xbox One X is smaller than Mikey's ass.
You heard it here first, folks.
Cutting edge journalism. But no, okay, so you smaller than your S, you meant to say, right?
I did.
Yeah.
It's the Minnesotan accent coming out, I think.
Cool. Anyway, sorry, please continue back with where you were. I just had to ask.
Well, now only thing I can think about is ass now.
Well, it's not bad, I guess. But, okay, I'll steer you from the posterior back to the topic. You like that? This caused a huge, fuss on the subreddit, a huge argument, so especially about value for money. Like, do you think it's too expensive?
No, not at all. If you want a comparable 4K machine, this is your best bet for playing video games. Hands down.
Okay, so you heard it here, folks. But Mikey, what are you running in your rig right now for anyone who's into PC?
Oh, yeah. That'll give them a good perspective on what kind of PC guy I am. So I'm running an i7 6700K overclocked at 4.5 gigahertz with 16 gigabytes of, it's DDR4 RAM, but that's not terrible, and a 1080 NVIDIA GTX.
You got a 1080?
Yes.
Nice. Those things are huge.
They are. It's smaller than my old card. I used to have a Fury X, which came with a built-in water cooler.
Oh.
But this one doesn't. This one runs a little bit more efficiently. But I'm thinking about putting water cooling on it just to overclock it. So that's the type of PC gamer I am. So if I'm telling you that the Xbox One X is a ridiculous value, I'm not lying to you, folks. I'm not just sitting here promoting Xbox because I'm on the Xbox subreddit.
No. I don't know why they're so salty. Like, I think that, anyone who says the Xbox One X is too expensive at $500, I think they're out of their mind. I mean, the PlayStation 3 released for $700.
Right. I think people are forgetting also back in the day, I think when the 360 released, it was more of a higher-end PC as well, or at least mid to high. Mm-hmm. And back then it was also, the value of the console was better than any PC you could build at the time. And I think, but this gap between the PC and the Xbox One X, I think is greater than that gap back in the day.
I'd say so.
And I think people aren't used to it anymore. Eventually it'll get outdone by PC. It
won't take long.
But I think it's the best value for your money right now.
Yeah.
Buy it when it comes out, if you want 4K gaming.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't want 4K gaming, you can still have faster load time, 60 frames per second gameplay, and super sampled textures, which is not half bad in of itself.
Right, and games like Dead Rising 3 that have the dynamic resolution, it will stay a solid 1080p more often, or whatever the actual resolution was. I believe it was 900.
No, probably 900p. But yeah, so I'm definitely going to get one at launch. How about you, Mikey?
I've been waiting to pre-order.
I tried to pre-order, but GameStop said that Microsoft isn't letting them issue pre-orders yet. Apparently there's going to be some sort of bundle.
That, and I'm not sure if they know how many they're going to make by the time they release. So I think they're holding back pre-orders for now.
Well, I know I'm going to get one anyway because I've started the Scorpio fund. I've got $20 in there already. It's not much, but it's a start.
It's not called the Scorpio anymore, Rhys.
It's always going to be the Scorpio to me, Mikey. Always. It's Xbox One X is a silly name. I don't like it.
Hey, you know what? They're just copying. Well, I don't know if they're copying, but they're following the same line as Tesla. The Tesla Model X and S. I think they also have a Y. So that's probably the next Xbox One right there. The Xbox One Y.
The X boy?
Like, why did they call it that?
I like how everyone's sort of having their mind blown that it's XBOX, which spells Xbox. It's almost like they've gone 360 degrees.
So no. Well, I don't think they want the although it's still going to hang around, the X-Bone joke too much.
Did you hear the guy on the French guy flub and say the X-Bone X?
Oh no, I hadn't seen that.
You were sitting it was at the Xbox conference.
It was?
It was the guy from Ubisoft. He said, "Now playing on the Xbox One X."
Oh no.
Rewatch the start of the Ubisoft conference. He says X-Bone.
Oh, I must have been tweeting or something. Oh, how did I miss that? Oh, we also weren't allowed to record. That would have been a great thing to record, though. I'll have to watch it back on Twitch.
If you watch Crobcat's new video making fun of it, the E3 like he always does, it's there.
Okay, I'll make sure to check that out.
Yeah,
I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah, it's great. But so, Mikey, thanks so much for joining me on this rather short episode. You have to come back more often, man.
More people have to leave, or have vacations, or have lives.
So do you want to close out the episode for us?
This might end up in the bloopers, but how do you close it out again? I'm blanking.
You say Xbox turn
signing off. Xbox turn off. For some reason, I wanted to say Xbox signing off.
Why would you say that?
Okay. I don't know. My face is red right now. That's terrible. Okay. Hopefully none of that gets in anything.
No, I would never put that in the podcast.
Yeah, you are.
No.
Do I have to say my name first?
No, just end the podcast.
Xbox turn off.
Yeah, that wasn't so hard, was it?
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
I'm completely flustered right now. Oh.
You're listening to Xbox One Party Chat Podcast. The official podcast of the Xbox One subreddit.
Let's do this.
From Trendy Entertainment, the developers of that game that I totally loved the intro.
of Overwatch.
The Dungeon Defenders.
Jeff Kaplan here.
Developers.
And you're listening to the Potty Chat Podcast.
Yeah, you can say that.
This isn't South Park.
It's like that.
I got the guys from Sumo Digital to talk like a snake when they said theirs, so.
Talk like a
Yeah,
snake.
they were advertising Snake Pass.
That's what I thought. Oh my god.
So they were like, "Hi, we're from Sumo Digital." It was the best.
That might not be the best impression.
Yeah, well.
I'm
Oh,
a
man.
slithery little sneaky fool.
And I'm just Isom.
I'm just a snack. And I'm a snack from Trendy Entertainment, and you're listening to the Party Chat Podcast.
And I'm a big bear.
We're a snake and a big old bear from Trendy Entertainment. And you're listening to the Party Chat Podcast.
Totally got this.
I'm dying.
All right, we got that. We're good.
Yeah.
I'm our marketing lead, and as such, all is well.
Okay, good. That's good to know. 'Cause I was going to use it anyway.